record. We'll see how big this file gets. I'll try and make it available to you guys later. So TwinMotion is a gaming platform rendering engine that various people involved. Epic Games is involved, Unreal Engine is involved, and TwinMotion is kind of like the architectural offering for rendering, but it's used to develop games and make games. When you initially get it, you're normally going to be going to this option here where you go through to the Epic Games launcher. And so you go to epicgames.com, I think it is. You get the Epic Games launcher, which has Unreal Engine, some learning platforms which are quite nice. There's Learn here. There's a marketplace, and depending on internet connection, etc., you get access to these various things. So there's different things to learn. There's a library. This is where it controls what you download, and you get the different engine versions. But TwinMotion runs as a separate tab. Tells you a little bit about TwinMotion, get the most out of TwinMotion, community support, meet the community, gives you a little bit of tutorials, which is pretty cool. There's a whole lot of videos for online learning. I'm going to give you a little crash course in getting started. There's a whole lot of plugins. These plugins allow you, oh there we go, there's a triple SketchUp plugin as well. So you can download a plugin for SketchUp that allows you a live link to SketchUp model straight to TwinMotion. Working in SketchUp, you want to send it to TwinMotion, click the button. It packages your thing and sends it to TwinMotion. You're working in TwinMotion and you realize I need to change something. You go back to your SketchUp model and you change some things. Click the button again and update that model in TwinMotion. Okay, that's what the live link does. And then from here you can also launch TwinMotion if you wanted to. Once you've got TwinMotion on your machine, I very seldom come back into this Epic Games window and I don't really look at it too much because it normally runs as a separate entity software, which either you got to find wherever you've installed it in your program files and create a desktop shortcut, or on a Mac it'll be in your applications, which is normally in this over here somewhere. It'll be applications, find it there. But I've created a desktop icon that's there, or you use your Mac command spacebar and you search for the file that you're looking for and then hit enter and open it like that. Anyway, so if you launch TwinMotion, so I'm searching for it here, TwinMotion, click on it, that's bouncing on the bottom. It starts like this. TwinMotion is quite resource heavy, as in if you don't have a fairly high spec machine, it's going to go really pretty slow. There are things we can do to make it go a little bit quicker, or at least make it usable on your machine, and then when you render it will come out much better, but otherwise it is quite a resource intense application. So what I'm going to do is try and fill my screen with this thing. The TwinMotion or your Epic Games one? As it loaded before, and it's not loading now. Yeah, I'll do a restart. Okay, when it starts, you don't have to follow along and click. You can just kind of watch what I'm doing as well. You get the splash screen that opens when it starts. It says, welcome, enjoy the best real-time experience. There's an option here that you can choose, which is your navigation mode. I normally choose SketchUp, but you can use other navigation modes that are native to other softwares, Revit, Max, ArchiCAD, Cinema, SketchUp. I normally choose SketchUp, but it shows you anyway what the navigation mode means. Your shift and your middle mouse button is pan, and your middle mouse button is orbit, and then your right button is a look around button, which is not really like SketchUp, but anyway, this is what it is. And then there's other keys that you can use, like gaming. Arrow keys with WASD for exploring and moving around, and then up and down, Q and E, and these arrow keys. And I always just show this window on startup to remind me. There's also here on the splash screen, there's a Learn TwinMotion in minutes, which you probably need to watch a few, and there's a whole lot of add-ins that you can get to. But once you've selected this, you can close that. What you're presented with when you start TwinMotion is the default city park landscape. It's brown, city in the background, blue sky. This is pretty much how it starts. How the interface works in TwinMotion. Just need to do some minimizing here quickly. adjust it. What it looks like is like this. You've got a menu that flies out on the left-hand side here, which is hard to see. It's a little triangle. This gives you access to the library, all the different things you can add. You can also collapse that. Off on the left side, you can leave it open most of the time. There's a way to refresh it. You can lock it there in place so it doesn't keep disappearing if you want to. There is a whole lot of buttons along the bottom left-hand side here. This first one is called Import, which is normally what you'd use to import a model if you haven't done the live link. There is a Urban tab. The Urban tab is setting up your context. You can set up animation paths. You can align your camera, and you can do some basic measuring. We'll look at that just now. This is one of the more powerful features in TwinMotion is this thing called vegetation, where you can create localized weather patterns. You can change the weather specifically, change the lighting, change the vegetation, even put in an ocean if you wanted to. This here is where you create content. You create images or panoramas, video, and BIM motion is like a user experience walkthrough scenario. You'll mostly be looking at images and video. And then here's where you export these things into a file that you can share with other people or publish. And it works by clicking on these items, and it tells you all the images you've created. And you can select all of them, select all your panoramas, select your video, whatever it is you want to do, start your export. Even on my machine, which is a fairly decently spec'd Mac, this is a Mac with a built-in graphics card plus an extra graphics card plus 16 gigs of RAM, so it's pretty highly spec'd. When I start an export, I leave my machine alone. I let it do its thing because I'm pretty much not doing anything else. It's using all the resources to export those things. Once it's saved the file somewhere, it kind of comes back to life again. The export's pretty quick. The images, a couple of minutes and they're done. Video a little bit longer depending on how long your video is going to be. Okay, I'll get to that. I'll get to that now. I'll show you kind of the basics. You can tweak it a little bit. That's along the bottom. On the right-hand side, you've got some more menus, which are also very seldomly used, but it's basically like your layers, like you have in SketchUp, where all the things that are in the scene are listed here. So you can turn those things off and on. So there's a starting grid. There's the scenograph in the background, which you can turn off and on. And as you bring things in, you can turn them off and on here. And there's some other statistics you can do with your model, but this is, again, a little bit more involved. This little eyeball guy over here controls things like how quickly you move around the space, what the current weather pattern is, what the current daytime is, the speed at which you're moving around your model. I normally have it on car. And this is dealing with taking screenshots and doing some other bits and pieces. Don't use these too much either, but they are there on the side. That item that Travis was talking about is about the visual quality or the render quality of your scene. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to import quickly just a basic SketchUp model. Actually, I'm not going to import a SketchUp model. What I'm going to do first is create a little bit of geometry, a bit of terrain, just for the fun of it. So I'm going to go to my library. I'm going to find vegetation and landscape. I'm going to find landscape, so I can get a flat one or I can get a rocky grassland. I choose rocky grassland. Drag it into the space. Preparing my terrain. Everything that I'm showing you here is with TwinMotion. It's bundled, except the SketchUp file that I'll be importing later. So here's my terrain. That's kind of cool. So I've got a terrain that I've just put on. I can still see my city in the background a little bit there. I'm going to move around a little bit so I can kind of just give you a bit of an idea of what's happening. So I'm not too worried about the city. It's literally just an image in the background. But I wanted to give you an idea of what was happening here. Okay. I am going to very quickly also save this because saving helps your computer deal with the amount of memory it needs to work with. So I'm going to save this into our third year folder. Let's call it Motion. I'm going to call it TM. Oh, TM's already taken. Oh, that means I've already got one. Huh. Must have been for the second years I saved it here. TM third year. It's going to save it quickly, saving the file. So I've got this basic terrain that I've turned on. I also want to just do something else here quickly. I want to turn on the ocean, just so that we've got ocean. Give you a bit of a feel for the vibe of the water. I'm going to enable ocean, yes. It does take long the first time. It's also, if you haven't downloaded it for the first time, it's probably downloading it before it installs it. It's a 10 gig file, so it takes a while to load. But you don't need to follow along on your machine. You can watch what I'm doing, and then I'll make this video available to you later. But it can be quite slow. So here's the sea that I've added. You can see that it's kind of moving with a bit of wind blowing. I can change the height of it, and this is how these buttons all work. They're basically just click and drag ability buttons. I think you can. Yeah, there we go, 11 meters if you wanted to. But it's also, again, not very sort of like number specific. It's very visually based. So you're like, oh, I want my sea to be about so high. And then you can change things like the type of water, the fake kind of blue that you get on brochures, or somewhat more realistic, etc. And again, I'm going to just save this. So I've got a bit of a terrain. Terrain itself can be manipulated quite nicely in TwinMotion, which is one of the powerful things again with TwinMotion. If I go back here to my vegetation, I want to go to, if I click on my terrain, I get these options under landscape where I can sculpt and I can paint it. Sculpting is quite cool. What it allows me to do is to create, based on certain measurements and intensities and shapes, I can go and create my own geometry. So I can go create an island in the middle here. So I'm going to start creating an island in the middle of the water here. Let's see if I can create an island. There you go, starting to develop. Island. Okay, let's see what ends up happening. It's delayed because of the rendering ability of my machine at this high res. I'll show you how to tweak that now. So I'm basically creating an island in the middle of this ocean. Make it more intense. So intense. There we go. Growing, growing, growing. It's very slow because it's trying to render it in real time. That's why it's dragging. It's trying to remove the water, all that kind of stuff. And the buttons here allow me to tweak this rendering. I can give my island a flat top, which is very helpful for putting buildings on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create another little flat top here, roughly over there, so I can plonk my building in. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Still growing some of the other stuff from just now. Okay, so this is my site. What I'm going to do quickly here is now show you the differences in the rendering capabilities in the working interface. If I go to TwinMotion and I go to Preferences, under Edit, there are different appearance levels. So if I click on Appearance here, my machine's already kind of struggling. Everything's a bit slow to click through. No, because what happens is you can turn it way low. So I'm operating at medium here. Okay, Ultra is that level. If I go Ultra and I turn on Ultra, what are my machines even going to handle? Anything. There you go. It's trying to render it like a real seascape. You can see the quality of the water. It's trying to improve it and make it look like full reflection, and everything's going a little bit like funky weird. So I don't operate at Ultra unless you've got like a high-spec gaming machine or rendering machine at home. In most cases, I work at this level, which I'll show you now. And also, I've created a massive terrain environment. Mostly, you'll just be bringing in a building and working in the interior. I've created a whole massive terrain and a whole massive ocean that it's trying to render to. Yeah, I'll show you a little interior space. I normally put it on low, so it's kind of looking at cell phone kind of level. If you do automatic, it'll probably choose based on your machine's credentials what level it wants to go at. So I'll do low for now. And low doesn't look too bad. But I'll move much quicker around the model. So what I'm going to do is just go in here and see what's going on with my terrain. And click on it again. I want to sculpt a few things, make things a little bit lower than they are shown here because it's a little bit crazy. So this is basically me creating like a golf course. Almost perhaps maybe lower this a little bit over there, create a bit of a slope here. And as it gets steeper, it gets rocky, and it gets lower, it becomes a grassy headland. Okay, let's bring in an internal a SketchUp model. I want to import something quickly. I'm going to click on import. I'm going to look for a SketchUp file from maybe I did here already. No SketchUp files there. Let's see if I can find one on here. I'm just going to search for SKP. What is that? Oh, that's a shopping. I could do that one just now. That's a retail space. I just want to find like a. Oh, here we go. It's like a containery kind of project, 18 megabyte file. Open this guy. There are options. Now these options are what you're going to have to experiment with when you're bringing in from SketchUp. Collapse by material. As far as I understand, collapse by material means that if you taking a material from TwinMotion and applying it to your SketchUp, all the materials of the same type in SketchUp will now be that new material. Whereas if you collapse them all, I think you get the option to treat every surface yourself in TwinMotion. So I'm going to say collapse by material. I'm not going to fiddle with that. I'm going to Z-axis is always up, and unit conversion is auto. Okay. Importing it, and I don't even know where it's going to put this jogging file. Yes. Now we're going to go find it. I don't know where it puts them to start. Let me go here quickly. Let's turn off the grassland. Let's turn off the scale will be according to the scale you've got it in SketchUp. I was going to go here. Can't find my model. Where is ocean? Ocean off. Turn my looking glass on. Where is my building? Oh, there it is. Found it. Stop worrying. There it is. It hasn't kept the whole thing together. I need to figure out how to get this all together. Oh, my terrain was probably massive. I don't have any scale when I made my terrain. I want to... I want to be able to move this whole thing. These are the fun parts. I'm trying to figure out how to... Zoom to selection. There's the building. But it seems to be broken up into parts. And I want to group it all together. How do you group the freaking thing? can't select them all together. I'm going to try this quickly. There we are, importing on the fly. It's breaking everything apart. I want to get rid of this thing. Yeah, I'm going to see about importing it differently. So if I can get it to all come in one time. Doesn't seem to. Oh, there you go. That seems to be. There you go. So there's an option of collapsing all hierarchy. So there is nothing. It's just one solid element. But I don't know what's going to happen now with my materials. If I go materials and I want to change something. And I'm still doing it by faces. That's okay. So this is collapsing the hierarchy. So you're breaking all the small geometry pieces, bringing them one time. What do I need to do then? So you get this little gimbal ball that is how you move things around here. Either you're dragging it with this guy, or you're using the up arrow to move in an up direction, that one to move in that direction, or the rotation item to spin the thing around. What I need to do is go turn on my, this is my previous building. You go find my island. Very easy there. My building on the island and zoom back to there. What it wants to do is it wants to match it to the terrain. It wants to get it to fit on. No. I'll need to do that myself, so I'll show you now. So I've kind of created this sort of cantilevering thing. I need to go now edit my terrain. So I click on my terrain to select it, and then I come back to my sculpt tools over here. And I'll choose a much smaller diameter of interference. And I'm going to create some uplift here. So I want to bring up this terrain under my building there, like so. You can, look. Now, I wanted to. And you use the flatten thing and you create like a flat top for it. Holy moly. So there we go. Oh, what the frick. Oh man. Oh, what it's doing. Okay, this would have been so helpful doing the Kemps Bay beach house. Flatten, create a bit of flatten terrain. So there's kind of the project on some terrace land and a bit of a cantilever still. Okay, there's my amazing project. Rightio. Now I want to go and change a few things. I want to add some materials. I want to add some people. Maybe want to add a little bit of animation to this guy. So what I'm going to do is just create a little bit more flat terraining here. Okay, right. So there's my building. If at this stage I just wanted to render this and export this, what I do is I go and say image, create an image. It will be of my current scene. Create the image, boom, there it is, and here's my image. It's done. I can go and tweak things like the daylight. So I can make it nighttime. I can make it nighttime that way. Let's make it daytime. Like so. I can go and tweak other things by clicking these little dots, saying more. I can change a whole lot of other things like the weather. So I can make it rainy. There we go, it's raining now. Make it sunny. Make it snowing, etc. It's all dragging and moving things around. What I can also do is I can say here duplicate. Now I've got two images, and I can go change this one to say, okay, well, let's make this one a little bit rainier. Let's turn on the wind a little bit, which doesn't help us too much now because I don't have any trees showing anything. And I can change a few other things, but I'm going to leave it like that for now. So it's like that, and this is the image I'm working with, and I can always come and fiddle around in my model again, but I can click here and fiddle around my model, or click on that image and fiddle around in my model. I want to add in a few materials here. So I'm going to go to my materials library on the left-hand side, choose some materials. I want to do some concrete floor surfacing here. I want to find one that I like. I'll just scroll all the way down. Swept concrete looks great. All I do is I drag it onto the surface that I want to make a concrete, and it applies that texture to that. And then I can come and I can change some color on the concrete if I want to make it like a bluey green concrete, and I can change that. I can change the scale of the pattern of the concrete. Now these things obviously will be hard to determine in your model if you're rendering it at a very low res, so you might need to tweak some of these things when you render it out. You can't see it in real time unless you go and change your preferences. Again, remember, which is this over here. If I change it to ultra, I'll see exactly what's going on, but I'm going to have issues with other things like the speed of the computer. But let's just do that quickly and see what happens. Quality, ultra, break stuff. Let's see what I get here. So it's going to give me like softer shadows, more realistic image mapping, blah de blah. It's going to try and make it look more real. And when I change things, it takes a lot longer. It's this little eye icon here. You click on that and you can make it quicker by making it the speed limiter to car. I'm going to turn my rendering down a little bit. This is getting a little bit intense. See how long it takes to select everything even. I'm going to make it medium. I can turn up the reflection of any material, so I can make it look like my floor is reflecting the rest of my building. If you really want to. This is probably not the best example of a modeled space, because I'm not sure of the quality of any of these things. But there's that there, be it as it may. I can then come, okay, so now I want to change this wall from this sort of graffiti. Let's maybe look at like, let's go for like a stone wall. Let's go for something a little bit more natural. There we go, like a stone wall like that. Let's apply it to there. Boom. So this stone wall, it didn't cover my window because there wasn't a window there. That window wasn't a window in the image that was pasted to that wall originally. So not an actual window. And because I've collapsed all my hierarchies, if I want this surface to be stone, then I need to make it stone as well. Become stone. Did. Or you can select a material that's currently in your model, like this container green, and I can change the color of our container green to say be red. So you can manipulate the colors that you brought in yourself, and it should update those colors accordingly. I'm going to turn our weather off for now. I want to change my lights. This is supposed to be a screen, so maybe what I'm going to do is try and find a fence or something. Concrete, wood, metal. Oh, there might be like a perforated metal here. Let's see. Aluminium siding. And nothing there. Water, leather, fabric, neons, translucent modeling. Grids. Oh, these like meshes. Check. Huh. Floral mesh. That's cute. Let's do that. There we go. Floral mesh onto that. Floral mesh onto that. You can check now already what's happened, because it's understood that my material mapping from SketchUp wasn't controlled very well. The image that I had on this section was stretched and warped, so it's trying to emulate that. And on this side, it was also stretched and warped. So this particular model that I brought is probably not the best, because I've used photos of a building and try to map them to the wall, and so my materials are trying to emulate that, not working so nicely. But that does kind of give some indication of what's going on. I want to take this material, I want to paint it onto here. See again, that's a little bit stretched. That's the same material, so it's copying it across. Very rough and ready. Maybe I want to change my roof material. So let's go find ground. So roof here somewhere. Yeah, roof coverings. It's obviously not interior stuff, but we'll get there. Roof covering. I can change the scale to make it look more like a tile. There we go. Tile. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll show you now. Let me add some what you're talking about. So let's go to materials library. Let's look at vegetation and landscape.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah, it's a factor. It's a random number to show you that it's increasing or decreasing. It's not like something you can mathematically determine. It's mostly visual related. Yeah. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to add a few trees in here maybe. So what you can do is I can go click on a tree, and I can then add this tree here, and then you can see he's blowing in the wind already because I had the wind on from this particular image. Or what I can do is I can go from a library, or I can go here to my vegetation, click on it over here, and I've already got stuff loaded from previously, and I can click this hookthorn, for example. Our paintbrush is turned on. I can determine how much of the hookthorn I want to have, and I can literally just paint it across my site. And paint it across my site when my rendering works. There we go. So now I'm just painting these jolly hookthorns everywhere. It's better on a bigger scale. Maybe what I want to do is paint them all the way across the top. My rendering is struggling. I'm going to turn it down a little bit more. Let's go cell phone vibes. There we go. So my trees aren't even blowing in the wind now. How lame. but I'll be able to paint these hook thorns freaking everywhere. There we go. This is painting. If I want to erase them, I've got to make sure I'm on the right tree, click the eraser, and then I can come and erase these guys again. So I can erase it like that. Okay. If I wanted to, I've already loaded long grass here. I want to say, okay, I want to have long grass by my building here. I'm going to put it's eraser, sorry, put the long grass. It'll paint any of the surfaces, so you've got to be a little bit careful with long grass and these sorts of materials because they will paint your building with grass. Very sustainable, eco vibes. So there's my building with grass growing on it. So I need to come and erase this. I change my size of my little bubble here so that I can get a little bit more accurate. And I can erase it off that surface. Erase it off that surface there. So I've got long grass in there. There's a whole lot of materials. There's a massive number of trees, a lot of sort of European and American examples. Here's a palmetto. That's cute. Put that there. Cute, might delete later. Landscape, we've done. I can go and add bushes, grass and flowers, even textured. Oh, that's pretty cool. Let's go add some. How does this look? Select that. Landscape. Landscape. How do I get that one to work? I want it to work. Drop it here, drop it here, drop it here. There we go. Drop it there. Select the paintbrush. Oh yeah. Come on, geometric grass. Where are you? Oh. Obviously, this can be quite a messy way to do things. But the grass is 3D, Travis, check it out. Not a carpet. Okay, so it gets a bit messy. I'm being a bit too rough with it, I think. Lights are important. Also quite simple for lighting. Pop up here. Go back to your library, find your lights. Now these are working as light sources. They're not light elements. It's not like a luminary or luminaire or whatever you want to call it. It's not like a pendant or a chandelier or an up or down light. It's just a lighting source. So you would have to have a physical lighting element that you might be able to actually find under furniture. So if we go to furnitures here and we look at home furnitures, huh? Yeah. So I can go find lamps. There they are there. It's basically looks like having a light bulb. So you can create lighting effects without having to have a lighting element each time. So there's different types of lights. So here's a neon light. Again, it's quite light in this particular image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show it to you mapped onto that surface there. And what I'm going to do is go back to, once I've placed my light, I get these options. I can change its intensity, so I can make it very bright. I can turn it off or on. I can change its Kelvin color. So I'm doing with the second use now. Kelvin is the measure of the whiteness of the light. I can change the length of the light, make it shorter and longer, depending on the space. I can turn shadows off or shadows on. And I can turn it on. This one's quite important at the end, your day cycle. If I have day cycle turned on, my light will turn off during the day. But if I go back to those images that I created earlier, and I click on this bar, my light should come on over there. In this particular situation, should be on. Let's change the time a little bit. Oh yeah, let's make the time a little bit darker. There we go, my lights come on at night time. So this will be a nighttime scene. We have a whole lot of lights. There's my light, one of my lights. If I go back to my images, it's a bit of clicking around on this particular program, the way it works. But that's something you just get used to. I'm going to put some more lights in here to illuminate the scene a bit better. Too much clicking around. You can start adding things to your own libraries and stuff eventually if you want to. So I'm going to create an omnidirectional light, put it right in the middle here, just a bit of illumination. I'll put another one over there, move it later, another one over there. Here we go. Yeah, you could. You would go and then you would try and put it in regards to your SketchUp light. Yeah. I'll look at depending on the kind of light fitting you choose here. If you choose one like this, which is a down type of light, you want to put it underneath something like this. Nope. There. And then you could obviously go manipulate it. So you'd go and you'd select it like so, and you can change its angle. You can also change, move, rotate, scale on it. So you can select different things to move it down, move it around, move it over, etc. So you can change certain things. This one will be shining down because that's the one I chose. I chose a down lighting one. But I can change the angle of it. I can make it quite specific and focused. I can make it quite wide. So it's basically this one. Let's say it's lighting up this pole. You can see it's lighting up the pole there a little bit. If I change the angle, it changes what I'm lighting on the pole. Day cycle, I also want to have that on. In fact, I want to have day cycle on for all of these so that when in the daytime, now they turn off. Unless you want lights in the daytime, which is not very sustainable. And I can turn all the lights on and off, and if I go back to my image that I've created and I go to image here and I click on this one, all my lights are off. And if I go to my nighttime scene, my lights come on. Cool, eh? And what I can do now, because our next I'll do is an interior scene to show you a little bit, but that's the kind of the basics. You're putting in lights, you're putting in images, you're putting in materials, you're either painting them on or you're dragging them in, and you can come and turn them off and on over here on the right hand side if you want to. If I want to export this now, I go to my export option, I click on image, I've got two images, I've got image 1 and image 1 copy, I just didn't really rename it. I want to export both my images. I also want to export a video, but I haven't created a video. So I'm going to go back to here, I'm going to say create a video, create, and what I do to create a video is you choose your images that you've got in your space. So what I do is that'll create an image, that'll create a video just on this image, which is kind of silly. I want to create another one here, but I want this one to be, how do you add, I want this image that I had earlier. I want this image to be part of my video too. How do I add that again now to my video? No. That's awkward. How do I do this before? Media, image, video, edit. Drag a clip here, that's not a movie. Okay, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go to video, I'm going to edit it from here. I'm going to duplicate this image, and this one, all I really did was change the daytime setting. So here it's going to be full daytime, and I want to change the weather to be full sunshine. I thought I was doing it this way around, but I wasn't. You can also change the season, so that's like summertime is there, and then this is going winter through to snow. So I want it to be summertime, sunny in this particular one, and that one's going to be still, let's make it summertime as well. That's the thingy. It changed the trees from brown to green. So you see the trees are changing. The trees got older, but this is kind of a rainy, dark scene. So we go from here to here. So the image would play basically be this kind of scenario. It will transition from summer daytime to a summer nighttime video. You can see the sun was kind of moving in the background there, a little reflection. Yeah. Yeah, it's just showing you that it's there. I've got it here. It's just because this is your modeling, and when you export it or save it out, it doesn't come in. It's just to show you that you can select. Otherwise, it's just a lighter band. There's no physical thing. So that's just to show you that there's a physical thing you can click on here to manipulate it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to. If I needed to move this around, I need to be able to click on something to get there. So that's why it's showing me like that. Okay, then I can come back to the export option. Images, I've got 2. Video, I've got a movie one and a clip one. What did I create here? I created a video. Created a clip 01. Is that clip 01? Yes. Okay, so I want to export clip 01. And I can start my export. And I can choose where I want it to go. And here we go. And it's going to be that folder. And I'll leave my computer alone. The other day I did it for the second year. It said, 30 minutes to do the video. It took 5. So the calculation was not always super accurate. It also depends on how much you're trying to do on your machine whilst it's doing this sort of thing. So I'd normally leave it just to do its transition. And you can obviously, with the video, there's a more option at the bottom here. You can go and tweak the frames per second and that kind of stuff that you want to do your video at, as opposed to just doing it all at the default. So it hasn't even figured out how long it's going to take yet. That's not good. Watching a machine do stuff. Yours still doesn't open. I would close it and try and open it again. Okay, so it's saying it's going to be 3 hours. 3 hours and 7 minutes and 54 seconds. Seems a little bit extreme for a couple of second clip. There's something that I've done wrong somewhere. So I'm going to cancel it. Hopefully that works. I might have it at 4K or something. Let's see. I don't have 3 hours to sit waiting for this thing. Cancel! Cancel! Any other questions while I'm waiting here? Oh. Turn it up. Down. Warmer. Huh? No, but what happened is the other day it was really, really, really warm, and they've come and serviced it now, so that's it. Okay, so I cancelled that. I'm going to see what else possibly. Format is MPEG, mode is standard, resolution, I didn't do any of that, it's 6K. I mean, this is standard. Let's do standard, that's fine. None of these are particularly amazing. 30 frames per second, 25. I don't see why this is particularly onerous. Why is clip 1 such a big problem? Video, edit. Oh, it's this movie. Movie 01, just delete movie 01. Go back to video, create. It's only 10 seconds. Why is it giving me hassles? Export. Let's do no images. Let's just do video. Okay. Export.